Hi everyone, good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening all.
Evening, everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, so we are going to start in next 3 to 4 minutes. If you wish to, message anyone, then please go ahead and message others to join fast.
Meanwhile, if you have any questions regarding the content that we have covered in last 2 weeks,
Yeah, so I think there was an email regarding S3 lab. Some were not able to access that lab. Is it resolved now? Any issues with that particular S3 lab?
Anya is facing the problem in creating S3. Okay, Tanya has mailed it.
Yeah, I think we are good to start now.
Okay, so welcome to week 3 webinar. And in today's webinar, we are going to discuss about VPCs and what are the options that we can use to connect multiple VPCs, or uh, how we can connect on-premises network to VPC. I hope my screen is visible to everyone. My voice is loud and clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the topic that we are going to cover here in today's webinar is we will talk about VPCs and how we can put or how we can connect multiple VPCs, multiple networks like on-premises network, multiple VPCs to on-premises network. So what are the different options that are available? So this is something that we are going to explore in today's webinar. So the agenda for today's webinar, first of all, we are going to discuss about what is an Amazon VPC. And I hope now you all have a good understanding about VPC. In last 2 week, I think we have covered about VPCs, how to create and configure VPC, and how to create your own custom VPC, how to configure different components of your VPC, and then you can launch your resources inside that VPC. So this is something that we have already covered in previous 2 weeks webinar. Today, we are going to focus on connecting VPCs to on-premises network. So basically, if you have a scenario where you want to connect your VPC to your on-premises network, so what are the options that are available and which services we can use for such type of connection? So like here we can use Direct Connect or AWS Managed VPN. So these are some of the connectivity options that are available, and we are going to explore these connectivity options. Again, if you have a scenario where you need to connect multiple VPCs, so you have a VPC for your development team and another VPC for your production team, and you want to connect these two VPCs. So what are the different connecting options that we have when we want to connect multiple VPCs? So this is something that we are going to explore here. And in today's webinar, instead of demo, we have some 10 to 12 questions that are available. So these are scenario based questions that we are going to discuss. And these questions are based on the connecting options that we have related to VPC and on-premises network. So this is the agenda for today's webinar. So let's start with the webinar. I'm Rahul Patel, technical trainer with AWS. So first of all, we need to understand the diagram here that is available. So as we discuss what is the VPC, that is VPC stands for Virtual Private Cloud. Again, as a user, as a customer, as a AWS suggests that as a best practice, you should create your own custom VPC, and inside your custom VPC, you should launch your resources. Okay. So if you understand this diagram here, in this diagram, we have two VPCs that are available, VPC A and VPC B. Now, I hope all of you have a good understanding about what is a public subnet, what is a private subnet, what is the purpose of these subnets. Again, what is the purpose of internet gateway, what is the purpose of net gateway, why net gateway is placed here in the public subnet. Okay. And then the components or the services that we are going to explore, or the features that we are going to explore here, is what is the meaning of peering connection here. So again, in general, if you talk about peering connection, so if you want to connect two VPCs, if you want to connect VPC A to VPC B, so for that purpose, either we can use this peering connection. Okay. Another option, instead of peering connection, we can also use a transit gateway here. Okay. Now the beauty of transit gateway is, like, here you can see that with transit gateway, you are connecting your VPCs as well as your on-premises network. So with this transit gateway, we are connecting our multiple VPC as well as on-premises network. Okay. So this is something that we have. And instead of transit gateway, if you are not using transit gateway here, so other option that you can use if you want to connect your VPC to your on-premises network, so direct connect is something that we can also use. Okay, so direct connect gateway is something that we can also use to connect our on-premises network to VPC. So these are the services, these are the features that we are going to explore in this webinar. So first of all, as a solution architect, you need to understand these questions. And these questions are coming from the network engineer. Okay. So here we have some business request. So in the business request, the first question that the network engineer is asking is, what can we do to keep our connections to AWS services private? Okay. So we will understand the scenario here and we will try to answer this question, how we can keep our connections private, how if two services on AWS are communicating with each other, so how the data is not going to travel through the public internet and how it is going to travel through AWS backbone network. So we have already learned about AWS infrastructure, global infrastructure, where AWS has regions, availability zones, and then we have edge locations as well. So throughout the globe, AWS has its data centers, and all these data centers, all these regions, availability zones are interconnected to each other with dedicated private link. Okay, so the traffic is going to travel, or the traffic is going to go through this dedicated backbone network, and it will not go over the public internet. And how we can achieve this? Okay, so which are the services that are responsible for this? That is something that we are going to understand here. And then we'll talk about how we can privately route traffic between our VPCs. Okay. So suppose, for example, if we have two VPCs, now if we want that when the resources inside this VPCs are communicating with each other, so how we can make sure that the traffic will not go over the public internet? Okay, so what are the options that are available? So this is something that we are going to understand. And then what are the options to connect our on-premises network to AWS cloud? So which service or which feature is responsible for this? That is something that we are going to explore. And then which service can reduce the number of route table that we need to manage our global network? Okay, so if we have tens or thousands of VPCs on-premises network on AWS, so how you are going to manage this? Okay, so these are the questions that are asked by the network engineer, and we will try to answer all these questions one by one. So let's start with the first question. And the first question is, what can we do to keep our connections to AWS service private? Okay, and for this we are going to explore VPC endpoints. Okay, so here you can see that if we talk about VPC endpoints, so in this diagram, we have a service that is known as DynamoDB. And DynamoDB is a service that is known as serverless service. Okay. So basically, this service is outside of VPC. Okay. Now, if this EC2 instance that is in private subnet wants to access DynamoDB, okay, and we want that the traffic should not go over the public internet. Okay. So for this purpose, what we can do, we can use VPC endpoint here. Okay. So this VPC endpoint enable this EC2 instance that through this VPC endpoint, it can access DynamoDB and the traffic is not go over the public internet. Okay. Else, if the VPC endpoint is not here, the traffic will go to this public subnet here. Okay. Somewhere here we have a net gateway. So it will go to the net gateway and then it will go to the internet gateway and through internet, it will go to the DynamoDB. So this is what happens if we are not using VPC endpoint. But if we are using VPC endpoint, the traffic will not go over the public internet. Okay. So VPC endpoints allow us to access the services that are outside of VPC. Okay. And the traffic is not going to go over the public internet. And this VPC endpoints are horizontally scaled. That means if you require more number of VPC, so it can be horizontally scaled, redundant, and highly available. Again, there is no single point of failure here because these VPC endpoints are managed by AWS. So it is a managed service which we can use, and in this way we can achieve the task that our traffic is not going to go over the internet, public internet. Okay. So without internet gateway, net gateway, or public IP address, we can access AWS services outside VPC. So this is one of the use case of VPC endpoints. I hope this makes sense to everyone. Now there are two types of VPC endpoints. One is gateway endpoint and another is interface endpoint. Now, the difference between gateway endpoints and interface endpoints is gateway endpoint is something that supports only two services, that is simple storage service and DynamoDB. That means gateway endpoints can be used only with these two services. Okay. So if a resource or if an EC2 instance wants to access S3 or DynamoDB, in that case, you can use gateway endpoints. And for all other AWS services, we can use interface endpoints. Okay. Again, when you are using gateway endpoint, you have to specify the target in the route table. Whereas in case of interface endpoint, it generally use private IP address from your CIDR range. Okay. Again, this interface endpoint is something that is powered by AWS private link. So let's understand with the diagram how the gateway endpoints and interface endpoints work here. So this is the example of gateway VPC endpoints. So in this diagram, you can see that this instance A is in the public subnet. Okay. And this is the route table of this instance, this public subnet, where we have a internet gateway route that is available. So if this EC2 instance wants to access S3, okay, so the traffic will go over the internet gateway through public internet, but the instance B is something that is having a gateway endpoints, and the entry of gateway endpoints is available in the private route table. So the traffic will not go over the public internet and it will travel through the AWS network. And in this way, instance B can access S3 and DynamoDB. So this is gateway VPC endpoint where S3 and DynamoDB can be accessed. Yeah, someone is having any question here? Someone raised hand.
Yeah, it's me, Lakshmi.
Yeah, Lakshmi.
Yeah, like interface endpoint, you said it is supporting just go back to the previous slide. Yeah, like it is
Yeah.
powered by AWS private link, you said, no? Can you please
Yes, yes.
elaborate on this?
Yeah. So here you can see that first of all, it supports more services as compared to gateway endpoints. Gateway endpoints support only two services, simple storage service S3 and DynamoDB. Okay.
Okay.
Again,
Okay.
interface endpoint is something that support rest of the services that you want to
Okay.
access from VPC. Okay. Powered by AWS private links. That means AWS is having the backbone network. Okay. Now
Mm.
again, when we talk about this interface VPC endpoint here, so here you can see that here we are using this S3 and DynamoDB gate endpoints, and we are making an entry of this endpoints into the private route table. Whereas in case of interface endpoints, we don't have to make any entry, and this interface endpoint generally use this private IP address.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine.
And from where we are getting this private IP address? From this CIDR range.
Okay.
So
Fine.
whenever you are creating an interface endpoint, this interface endpoint will receive a private IP address from the private CIDR range of your subnet.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine. Okay.
And then through this private IP address, it will like services like system manager. Okay. So if instance P wants to access system manager, okay, so this can be done with the help of interface endpoint. Now here you don't have to update any private route table entry.
Okay. Fine.
So this is the yeah, this is the difference between interface endpoints and gateway endpoints.
Okay. Fine. Thank you.
Yeah. So I hope this question that we are answering here, how can we keep our connections to AWS services private? Okay. So the scenario here is, if we have services that are outside of VPC, okay, like S3, DynamoDB, or System Manager, okay. So if these services we want to access from our VPC, like the EC2 instance wants to access S3 or DynamoDB, so this can be done with the help of VPC endpoints. And we have two type of endpoints. One is gateway endpoints and another is interface endpoints. And definitely you will receive one question, one or two question from this concept. Okay. So on the question is something like scenario based, where you will be asked to like a EC2 instance in our private subnet, and this EC2 instance wants to access an S3 bucket, and the traffic should not go over public internet. So in that case, which option you are going to select? So gateway endpoint is something that we can select. But again, here one more tricky question. Suppose, for example, if this S3 bucket, okay, is in different region, if the S3 bucket is in region, another region, and this EC2 instance wants to access this. So in that case, you cannot use gateway endpoint. Okay. In that case, you have to use interface endpoint. So gateway endpoint can be used only when your S3 bucket and your EC2 instance are in the same region. In that case, only you can use gateway endpoint. Okay. But if your S3 and DynamoDB are in different region and your EC2 instance is in different region, in that case, you have to use interface endpoint. So this is another concept. Again, this concept is something that is higher level. It will be not asked in the associate level, but
So
this is
basically
something that
say
you need to know. Yeah.
so basically say gateway and interface interface can access both AS3 and DynamoDB also.
Yes, yes.
Like you
It
said,
can,
gateway only accessible through only S3 and DynamoDB. So in case of interface get endpoint, it can access both,
yes, it
like
can access
S3,
both.
DynamoDB, and other services.
Yes. But generally, like if you notice here, S3 and DynamoDB are the widely used service of AWS. Like most of the customer use this S3 and DynamoDB. Again, the scenario is like S3 and DynamoDB is, in most of the cases, it will be in the same region. So for that, AWS has provided this gateway endpoint, gateway VPC endpoint. But again, this is something that is
And
provided
there we
for
say it in different region. So in that case, we can use interface endpoint.
inter, interface. Yeah. So if S3 and DynamoDB are in different region, okay. So in that case, you have to use interface endpoint. You cannot use gateway endpoints. Or we can say that this is the limitation of gateway endpoint, that if S3 and DynamoDB are in different region, we cannot use gateway VPC endpoint at that time. Okay. I hope this makes sense. So this is how we can keep our connections private, or we can keep our data private, okay, and restrict the data to travel over the public internet. Now, the next question is, how can we privately route traffic between our VPCs? Okay. Now, in the previous question, we have discussed about the services that are communicating with each other, the services that are inside the VPC and the services that are outside the VPC. But now here we have another scenario. We have multiple VPCs, and inside this multiple VPCs, okay, so let's understand in this way. Like here we have two VPCs, okay. So in this two VPCs, we have EC2 instance. So EC2 instance in A and B. So this is VPC A, this is VPC B. And now this two VPC EC2 instance wants to communicate with each other. Now, if they are communicating with each other, okay, the traffic is going to go over the public internet in general. But the question here is, we want to keep our connections private, okay, or we want to privately route the traffic between VPC. So how we can achieve this? So for this, we have a concept on AWS that is known as VPC peering. Okay. So with VPC peering, what you can do, you can connect two or more networks. Okay. You can connect two or more VPCs. So here you can see that VPC and VPC are connected with the peering connection. Now these VPCs can be in the same region or they can be in different region. Okay, so that means you can connect VPC, you can do peering connection in the same region as well as in the different region, or these VPCs can belong to same AWS account, or they can also belong to different AWS account. That is cross account also supported. Okay, now when we are doing a peering connection between these two VPCs, so what we need to do is first we need to create a peering connection. Then after creating a peering connection, we need to update the route table of both the VPCs. Okay. So we have to make an entry of peering connection here. So this is PC1 is the peering router here. Okay. And this is the CIDR of our VPC B. Similarly, CIDR of VPC A is going to be here and the peering connection router entry will be done here. So first you need to do a peering connection, create a peering connection. Now here one is the requester, another is the acceptor. Okay. And after this, you need to update the route table entries. And once the route table entries are updated, the VPCs are paired to each other. Now, if the VPCs are, if the EC2 instances are communicating or the resources are communicating with each other, now in this case, the traffic is going to travel over this peering connection. So it is not going to go over the public internet. It is again going to use the AWS network. Again, the limitation here is the CIDR range cannot overlap. So here you can see that the CIDR range of the VPCs cannot overlap, else it will create an ambiguity. Okay. So this is the limitation with the peering connection. Again, this is another example where three VPCs are paired to each other, VPC A, VPC B, and VPC C. Okay. So we have created or we have done two peering connection here. VPC A and B are connected through peering connection. B and C are connected through peering connection. Okay. Now A and B is connected and B and C is connected. That doesn't mean that A is connected to C. So transitive peering is not supported here. Okay. So to connect A and C, you have to explicitly create a peering connection. You need to explicitly create a peering connection. So it is something like a mesh kind of thing where if you have three VPCs and if you want to connect each VPC with each other, so you have to explicitly connect each VPC to other VPC. Okay. So that is kind of mesh here. Now the benefits of VPC peering is, first of all, it is going to bypass the internet gateway or virtual private gateway. Okay, so the traffic is go over the AWS private network. Okay, it again provides high available connections, so there is no single point of failure. Then it avoids the bandwidth bottleneck. That means when the traffic is go over the public internet, there is always a limitation or there is always a bandwidth bottleneck. But when we are using a peering connection, so it avoids that bottleneck here. And then it uses private IP address to direct traffic between VPCs. So as the CIDR of both the VPCs are not overlapping, okay, so in that case, we can use the private IP address range to for the communication. So these are the benefits that we get when we use peering connection. Now, this is one of the example where we have multiple VPCs in two region, okay, and then we have peering connections. So this is a shared service VPC where the shared services are launched in this VPC. Then here we have application 1 VPC, application 2 VPC, and application 3 VPC. Now, application 1 VPCs have a peering connection with shared, application 2 has peering connection with shared, and application 3 has peering connection with shared. Now, this is something that is inter-region as well as we have the peering connection in the same region. Okay. So this is something that we can do with the peering connection. So this is an example of shared services. Now this is a full mesh VPC peering where we have 5 VPCs and each VPC is connected to other 4 VPC. So A is connected to B, C, D, E. They have explicit peering connections. Similarly, B is connected to A, C, D, E. Okay. And we have to make the entry in the route table for each peering connection. So this is the route table for VPC B, where we have made 4 entries, A, C, D, E entries. Okay. So this is something sometimes become complex. Like for example, if you have 10 to 20 or 50 to 100 VPCs in a large organization, and you want to connect each your VPCs. So sometimes this managing this route table become very complex and tedious task. Okay. So to overcome this limitation, what other services that we have that we are going to see in the coming session. So I hope this peering concepts make sense to everyone. What is VPC peering? Any question here?
No, Rahul.
Okay. Okay. So we have discussed about VPC peering and VPC endpoints. Okay. Now next is hybrid networking, where we are going to answer what are our options to connect our on-premises networks to AWS cloud. Okay. So on-premises networks, that means if we are having our own data center where some of our application components are running, and the other components of applications are running on the cloud on in our VPC. Okay. So what are the options that we have to create a hybrid connection where our on-premises network is connected to our AWS cloud network? Okay. So this is something that we are going to explore here. What are the options that are available? So here we have AWS site-to-site VPN, where we have on-premises corporate data center, and we have AWS where we are running our VPC. Okay. Now on the VPC side, we have virtual private gateway, and on the on-premises data center, we have customer gateway device, and we have created a VPN connection over the public internet. Okay. So in this way, we can manage, we can create a managed connection, a site-to-site VPN connection to connect our on-premises network to AWS. So this is something that we can use here. And another option that we can use is we can use direct connect. Okay, so again, there is a service that is available on AWS, that is AWS Direct Connect. Now, the beauty of Direct Connect is a dedicated fiber link cable is going to be installed from your on-premises network to AWS cloud. That means here you have a direct connect location. So when we explore our AWS global infrastructure, there are several, or like throughout the globe, there are 100 plus direct connect locations that are available throughout the globe. So according to your direct connect location, nearest direct connect location, a dedicated fiber link is going to be installed, and it will be connected to the router on your on-premises network. And the other end of the cable is going to be connected to the direct connect locations router. And in this way, your AWS cloud is going to be connected to your on-premises network. Okay. So this is something, a physical installation of cable from your on-premises network to AWS cloud. Again, it is something that is going to be not feasible for in every case. Okay, so first you need to check with AWS, and then AWS will consider your use case, how you are going to use this, and then if the direct connect location is available near to your data center, then in that case you can use this service. Now, if you compare a direct connect and AWS site-to-site VPN here, So you can see that direct connect is something that is going to be give you capacity in megabits per second, whereas side to side connection, the connection is free. The connection fee is per hour. Okay. Here you are going to be charged for port hours. Okay. So the time that the port is provisioned for your use in the data center. Okay. So for that time you are going to be charged. And here the data transfer out. So again, when you are transferring data out of AWS network, so in that case, you are going to be charged. Okay. So the charge is generally per GB in both the cases. Okay. But in side to side VPN, first 100 GB are not are at no charge. So you can transfer first 100 GB at no charge, and after that you have to pay per GB. So this is the pricing that is available here in direct connect and AWS side to side VPN. Now, if we connect, which option you are supposed to choose according to your use case. Okay, so if you have a requirement of requirement speed, connection speed maximum or limited up to 1.2 Gbps, side to side VPN can be used. Okay, so it has a maximum of 1.25 Gbps. But if you have requirement more than that, in that case you can go for direct connect. So Direct Connect provide 110 or 100 Gbps connections options. Again, direct side to side VPN is something that is faster to configure than Direct Connect. Okay. Now, when you are using Direct Connect, it requires special agreement. Okay. Again, physical cabling to the data center is something that is going to be done. So it is going to be time consuming as well. So AWS side to side VPN is always the best and fastest option if you want to connect your own message to AWS. Now, in side to side VPN, you are not going to pay for an inactive connection. Okay, whereas in direct connect, you are going to pay for the port hours, whether you are using the connection or not. Okay, so this is something that you need to consider. And side to side VPN is encrypted. Okay, so the connection is encrypted in transit by default. But again, the connection is going to travel over the public internet. Whereas direct connect is not encrypted by default, but it is a private dedicated connection. Okay, so this is how considering the different option you can choose AWS VPN or direct connect here. I hope this makes sense. Any questions?
So what is VPN Cloud Hub?
VPN Cloud Hub.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so like we have different options that are available here. Okay, now if we talk about VPN Cloud Hub here, so VPN Cloud Hub is something where we have multiple VPCs that are connected. Okay, so in VPN Cloud Hub, we have multiple customer gateway. Again, they are using uh, unique border gateway protocols that autonomous systems. Okay, so this is something that is available here. And in this case, we have multiple locations, customer networks that we want to connect. Okay, so we let me explain with the diagram here.
So like
Suppose
explain
for,
with a scenario.
yeah. So suppose for example, we have this VPC. Okay, and then we have multiple customer locations. Okay, so suppose for example, we are working for a corporate office, and this corporate office has multiple locations. Like one is in Bangalore, okay, one is in Mumbai, and one is in Indore. Okay, now we want to connect this VPCs with multiple location. Okay, so in this case, AWS VPN Cloud Hub can be used. Okay, so AWS VPN Cloud Hub here we are using to connect multiple locations. Like our on-premises network is something in multiple physical locations, okay? And we want to connect with our AWS cloud. So for that purpose, we can use, in this case, in this scenario, we can use this AWS Cloud Hub.
So you can use multiple VPC or single VPC in that case, in this case, to connect
Here,
different corporate sector.
yeah, we can use multiple VPCs as well. Again, like for this, the best option is we can use a transit gateway that we are going to see. Okay, so
Yeah, but
this
it
is
is
one
also
thing.
available. It is also one
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the
it is.
option.
Yeah, this is one of this is also one of the option. But again, like in this case, you want to you have to manage multiple things. But transit gateway is something that you can use uh, as in like a managed service for this. Okay, so instead of using this, you can use transit gateway. And this is going to be act as a managed service. So this is the use case of Cloud Hub. Okay, but instead of this, we can also use transit gateway that we are going to see in
Okay.
coming slide.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay. So the next one is AWS Transit Gateway. So which service can reduce the number of route tables that we need to manage our global network? Okay. So here you can see that uh, the limitation when we are doing peering connection. Okay. So in peering connection, like suppose for example, if you have 50 or 100 VPCs, so what we have to do, if we want to connect each VPC to other VPC, we have to make explicit VPC peering connection between each other, and then we have to maintain the route table entries as well. Okay, and this is something become complex task if you have a larger network. Okay, so to overcome this limitation or to reduce the number of route table entries, okay, how we can manage our global network. So like in the previous example in the Cloud Hub also, if we have uh, n number of locations and VPCs, okay, and we are connecting each other. So in that case also, we have to the managing such network become complex task. Okay, so for that, what we can do is we can use this transit gateway. Okay, and the transit gateway is something that is going to act as a hub. Okay, so here you can see that with this transit gateway, what we are doing, we are connecting multiple VPCs as well as we are also connecting with our on-premises network. Okay, so with a transit gateway, you can connect up to 5,000 VPCs and on-premises network. So with a single transit gateway, it is going to act as a hub here. Okay, and like in we have a star topology network. Okay, so the star topology, we have a central hub and all other nodes are connected with this central hub. Similarly, here we have a transit gateway and all our other VPCs on premises network are connected with this transit gateway. So it is going to act as a hub and all the traffic is going to flow through this transit gateway. Okay, again it permits multicast and inter-region peering also. That means in inter-region also we can connect our VPCs and on-premises network. So this is something, the concept of transit gateway, and this is going to reduce our route table entries that we have to manage when we are connecting or we are doing peering connections for multiple VPCs. So this is the use case of transit gateway. And the with transit gateway, you can easily scale your network. Okay, so like for example, when we are using peering connection, if we are going to add one VPC here, okay, so this VPC is going to be paired with each other VPC. Okay, so first we need to make if suppose for example here we have 12 VPCs and one more VPCs we are adding here, so we have to make like 13 connections. Okay, and we have to make entries in the 13 route tables. But in this case, you just going to add one more VPC and it will be connected to your transit gate. So this is going to become easy, like scaling your network is going to become easy with the help of transit gateway. Again, here you can see that you can also connect your transit gateway with your on-premises network with the VPN or direct connect. So this is something that we can do. Again, transit gateway is something that is highly available and scalable because it is a managed service. So this is something that we can use here. Now, this is an example where we are using a transit gateway and we have 4 VPCs that are connected to this transit gateway. So transit gateway is going to act as a central hub here, and the traffic is going to travel through this transit gateway. And this is fully connectivity. That means A can connect with B, or B can connect it with C. C can communicate with D. Okay. So all the VPCs can connect with other VPCs with the help of this transit gateway. Here we also have a direct connect that is available and a VPN connection. So this is a fully connectivity where each VPC is connected to other VPC. Now, in case if we want partial connectivity, like if we want that A can communicate to C only and B can communicate to D only, so this can also be done with the help of transit gateway. So here you can see that A and C are connected and B and D are connected. And if you want isolation with full access from a VPN, so now none of the VPCs are connected to each other. Okay, they cannot communicate with each other. They can only communicate with through the VPN. So we can access this VPCs only through VPN connection. So this is something that we can do with transit gateway. So these are the options that are available. I hope this makes sense to everyone. Any questions?
So
So
using a associate using in this transit gateway, we can connect different region VPC or in a within a same VPC, same region.
no, we can connect in different region as well.
Okay, thank you.
So if we summarize what we have covered today, okay, connecting VPCs to on-premises. So what are the services that you need to know? Okay, first is AWS Direct Connect, second is Transit Gateway, and then Managed VPN. So Direct Connect is going to link your internal network to AWS Direct Connect location over a standard Ethernet fiber optic cable. Okay, so one end of your cable is connected to your router and the other to AWS Direct Connect router. So this is something that is going to be done in case of AWS Direct Connect when you want to connect your on-premises network to AWS. Okay. Then transit gateway is something that is going to act as an hub. Okay. And through this, you can connect your VPCs and on-premises network. Now, in case of transit gateway, your data is automatically encrypted and it never travel over the public internet. Okay. So it is going to use the AWS backbone network. Okay. When you are connecting multiple VPCs. And then we have managed VPN where we can use uh, Amazon VPN Cloud Hub. Okay, so again, it simple hub and spoke model that you can use with or without VPCs as well. So like instead without VPCs also you can connect multiple locations of your on-premises network. Okay, and then side-to-side VPN is something that you can use if you want to connect your on-premises network to AWS using software VPN appliance. So these are the different options that we have when we want to connect our on-premises network to VPC. And if you want to connect multiple VPCs, so for this service that you need to know is VPC peering, transit gateway, private link, and managed VPN. So VPC peering is something where we are going to create peering connection between two VPCs. Again, we are going to make the entry of route table, and then the resources inside this VPCs can use private IP address to do the communication. Transit gateway is again going to act as an highly available and scalable service. So it is going to act as a hub, and through this, multiple VPCs can be connected. Private link. So again, with AWS private link, some of the AWS services can be you can connect with some of the AWS services, and these services can be hosted by other AWS accounts. Okay, so generally it use private IP address in your VPC. Okay, so like we have discussed about interface endpoint. Interface endpoint is something that use private link where some of the AWS services can be accessed. And then we have managed VPN that we can use to software side-to-side VPN or software VPN to AWS VPN. These are the options that are available that we can use to connect our multiple VPCs. So these are the options that we have that we can use to connect hybrid networking. I hope this makes sense to everyone. Now let's discuss some of the questions that are available here and understand different scenarios that are available. So the first question is, which of the following is true regarding VPC peering? So I'm going to expect answers from everyone. Yes, you can unmute yourself and you can speak, or you can
D.
type your answer in the chat.
D. Option is D.
Option is D. Okay, so
D.
here, yeah, what is true regarding VPC peering? So you can only peer VPCs having known overlapping CIDR. Okay, the rest of the answer are not true regarding the VPC peering option. Okay. Which of the following statements is false regarding AWS managed site-to-site VPN? Um, Site-to-site VPN. So the answer, I think some of you have already D, T, B. So the answer to this question is B. Okay, so false regarding AWS managed site-to-site VPN. So offer two VPN tunnels between only a virtual private gateway on the AWS side and a customer gateway which represent a VPN device on the remote on-premises side. Okay, so this
Explain
statement
this
is
answer
false.
actually.
Okay, so AWS managed site-to-site VPN. Which statement is false? Okay, so we need to identify which statement is false related to site-to-site VPN here. So it support IPsec protocol here. So this is something that is supported by AWS managed site-to-site VPN. With VPN, you can access the private resources in AWS VPCs over secure network channel. Okay, so this is something also true. Okay, Then VPN traffic flow over the internet and constrained by the internet connection reliability and bandwidth. So when the traffic is of the VPN is flowing over the internet, so there is always a limitation of the internet connection, its reliability and bandwidth. Okay, so this is something also true. Again, offer two VPN tunnels between only a virtual private gateway on the AWS side and a customer gateway, which represent a VPN device on the remote on-premises side. So this is false regarding AWS managed side-to-side VPN. Okay. So here the question is, which statement is false regarding the functionality of side-to-side VPN? AWS managed side-to-side VPN.
Sir, explain virtual private gateway and customer gateway.
Okay. So virtual private gateway is a device. Okay. I think in one of the diagram we have here. In this case, you can see that virtual private gateway is a device that we need to install at the AWS site. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir. That is the correct.
a customer gateway device is something that we need to install on premises side. Okay. And these are what when we are creating a VPN connection, so you have to create a customer gateway device. And when we go over the management console here, okay, in VPC section, so here we have an option of creating this. Okay. So if you explore here, so you can see that we have different gateways that are available.
Sir, that is,
Okay.
I understand. To establish
Yeah.
connection between two on-premise and cloud, we need to install these two software. So how it is false
Yeah.
in that case?
How it is false in that case?
In that question.
It is AWS managed side-to-side VPN. So which of the statement is false regarding AWS managed side-to-side VPN?
But this is not the false now. Actually, you have to install both the virtual private gateway in cloud service provider, which we have to connect, and customer gateway in on-premise site. So how it is false? Is? That is I'm asking. To establish connection, we need these two gateway. So how it is false here?
Yeah. AWS managed side-to-side VPN, two VPN tunnels between only a virtual private gateway.
Saying in remote site, we need to install the customer gateway. In AWS, we need to install
Yes,
virtual
yes,
private gateway. Then how it is
yes,
false?
yes, yes. And let me see. I think. Okay, let's see other options. Okay, so side to side VPN support IPsec tunnel. So this is true. Okay, With VPN, you can access the private resources in AWS VPC over secure network channel. Okay. And VPN traffic flow over the internet and constant by the internet. This is also true. With VPN, you can access the private resources. Yeah. So I think there is some, if we talk about AWS managed site-to-site VPN, so which one do you think it is like false in this? I don't find IP sector. No. Mm, options are, it also support internet protocol security IPsec tunnel, offer two
Yeah, that is
VPN
right.
tunnels between. Yeah, offer two VPN tunnel is also right, I think, because you enable access to a remote network from UPC. Offer two VPN tunnel between only a virtual private gateway on the AWS side and a customer gateway on the remote side. Yeah, this is true. With
Yeah,
VPN, you can
without that,
access the
without
private.
these two gateway, we cannot connect the each other. We
Yes.
cannot connect with each other. Yeah, that's the right option.
With the VPN, and with the VPN, you can access the private resource in AWS VPC over the secure network channel. Private resource in AWS. Yeah. Okay. I think there are all the four options are correct according to this. So, okay, I will check this question and let you know about this. I don't find any wrong answer here.
Yeah, Rahul, I'm not
Yeah,
sure, but might be like it says in the question, AWS managed site-to-site VPN.
yeah.
So can we take it as like um, we we both AWS sites, but like not taking one as the customer side, but both as the even I'm not sure, but I'm just trying to understand it. Both side AWS, maybe like AWS VPCs.
Manage site to site VPN.
Just in that AWS documentation, they have diagrams also. Like diagrams also they have. Just scroll down. Of these topics they have shown with the diagram as well. From this left navigation menu, you can check. Show with diagrams as well.
Okay.
This site-to-site VPN. Click on any of these links. I think you should get the diagram also. Click on the features tab on the top features tab. Inside the overview tab,
Okay, here we have when using site to site VPN, you can connect to both your Amazon Virtual Private Cloud VPN locally distributed application. Site to site VPN.
might be in question. They are just saying like only the only word. Might be that is not true, and they have some other option as well.
Yes, yes. So when we see here site to site VPN, over there, we have client VPN. Okay, so I think if we find out the correct wrong answer here, so like which of this statement is false regarding AWS managed site-to-site VPN? So it support IPsec protocol. This is something true. Okay. Then with VPN, you can access the private resource in AWS VPCs over secure network channel. So with VPN, we can do this. So this is also true. Then VPN traffic flow over the internet and constant by internet connection reliability and bandwidth. This is as well. This is true as well. Offer two VPN tunnels between only a virtual private gateway on the AWS side and a customer gateway on the remote on-premises side. Offers two VPN tunnels. Okay, so we will look into this question. I think all the options, 4 options are seems correct here.
Okay, sir.
So we will look at this and let you know.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Next question: which AWS service you should look for if you need dedicated connectivity up to 10 Gbps to AWS regional data centers from your own premises company network?
Privately.
10 Gbps, up to 10 Gbps. A.
A AWS Direct Connect.
So AWS Direct Connect is something that can provide
Yeah,
up to
sorry,
10
direct
Gbps.
connecting the.
Okay.
Actually, it is saying dedicated connection, so that's why.
Yeah, dedicated connectivity. Question 4: if A is peer to B and B is peer to C, can A and C communicate directly?
D.
D, no. VPC transitive peering is not supported feature in AWS. Okay, so this is transitive peering is not supported here. Now this is a scenario based question here. So what is the answer? D, B. Okay. So here we have a scenario where we have to provide secure communication between multiple sites using the AWS VPN Cloud Hub. Okay. Which statement is most accurate in describing what you must do to set up this correctly? So the answer here is B. Create a virtual private gateway with multiple customer gateway, each with unique border gateway protocol BGP autonomous system numbers. Okay. So the scenario here is this is our VPC, and here we have multiple customer sites. Okay. And when we are creating this VPN Cloud Hub, so in this case, here we have a VPG, that is virtual private gateway, and multiple customer gateways are available here. Okay. And this will have a unique BGP system number. So this is the scenario here. So when we have AWS VPN Cloud Hub, okay, so virtual private gateway with multiple customer gateways are the solution that we can find here. So B is the option here. Next question. You require the ability to communicate from within one VPC to another in another region. What is the ideal architecture for that path?
Cross pairing, cross region pairing.
Cross region peering. Okay. So when you have a scenario where you want to communicate within one VPC to another in different region, so in that case, cross region peering is something that we can use here. You wish to create a direct private communication mechanism to S3 from within your VPC. What is the name of the feature that can provide this connectivity?
Endpoint, VPC endpoint.
VPC endpoint. Okay, so VPC endpoint is something that we can use for a private connection. So this is again scenario based question.
VPC peering. Use VPC peering.
Use VPC peering. Okay, so VPC peering is something that we can use here. What is the answer? B or A?
I think B.
B is the right answer.
Okay. B is the right answer. So first of all, let's understand the scenario. You have data residing on your organization network that needs to be migrated. Okay, so data is on premises. On premises. Okay, your organization network is connected to AWS VPC through VPN. So suppose this is our VPC. Okay, and this is connected through VPN. Okay, the VPC contained an S3 VPC gateway. So here we have VPC S3 VPC gateway. Okay, so suppose for example, here we have this VPC gateway, S3 VPC gateway. Okay, endpoint created to access S3 through AWS internal network. Okay, as an architect, you were asked to transfer the data to S3 without using the internet due to the security compliance. Okay, so now again S3 is somewhere here. Okay, what is the best possible way to achieve this? How we are going to do this? Where is the data? Data is here. Yeah. So can we do with this with B? Send the data to S3 by utilizing the VPC gateway endpoint within the organization network. Data is on premises. So we need to put this data to S3. So can we use this gateway here? Can we use this this option? Send the data to S3 by utilizing the VPC gateway endpoint within the organization network.
But Rahul, it
So
is mentioned that we cannot use the internet without using the internet.
Yeah, even I
without
felt
using
that, so
the
that's the
Yeah,
reason
yeah,
B.
that is that. Yeah, yeah, that is the. So I said B. Is it?
And I had not observed the data residing on the organization network also. I thought like without using internet, I felt so B is the answer.
Same
okay.
things.
Transfer the data to S3 without using the internet due to security compliance. Okay. So as per this, this is the answer. Configure an S3 proxy on an EC2 instance within the VPC and transfer the data to S3 by VPN and S3 proxy.
But the data will be transferred over the internet, no? Then how it is?
Data is going to be transferred over the internet.
Yeah.
But again, VPN. So again, with this option also, if you are sending the data to S3 by utilizing the VPC gateway endpoints within the organization network, in this case also, the data is on the organization. Okay. And you have to put the data to S3.
So, but without using internet, how we transfer the data?
Yes. So this is the mess with the question here. Okay, so like if we don't consider this without using the internet scenario, okay, if we consider if we are asked to transfer the data to S3, okay, so in that case, this option is going to work.
Yeah, first option is right, but it is saying also without using internet.
Yeah,
That's make difference.
so that is what, yeah, that is what I am saying. But again, with if we see this option, okay, VPC gateway endpoint is something that we can use in case if like the data is available here, or if like we have to upload the data from here to here. So in that case, gateway endpoint can be used.
If it is in the cloud, we can transfer the data using endpoint, gateway endpoint.
Yes. Okay. S3 without using. Okay. Okay. So I think this is the wrong wording here that they have put it. So if this without internal option is not given here, A can be the correct answer. But apart from that, I don't think any option is correct in this case. I hope this if we are opting that if the internet option is not available, in that case we can transfer the data.
Okay, sir.
Please, okay, please explain D. Add a new route in VPC VPN enable route table with the VPC endpoint to support direct transfer from the remote organization network to S3. So add a new route in the VPC's VPN enable route table with VPC endpoint to support direct transfer from the remote network to S3. So in that case, for direct transfer, we need to create instead of VPN, we need to create a direct connection, direct connect option.
Dedicated
Okay, and
connection
that
we
is
need, sir.
yeah, and that is something that is not given in the question. Okay, so this
Yeah,
option
that
is
is
not going to work. If in the question they have given a direct connect option is available, so in that case we can think about this. Okay. So in this question, if we are not considering this sentence, okay, so apart from this, this is the best possible answer to achieve the scenario.
okay, sir. That's fine.
Okay. Details into the PRVPC. Yeah, VPC gateway endpoint is again like the data can be sent over this. Okay. But again, the data has to be in the cloud. If the data is in on
Yeah,
premises, residing in on premises, in that case, to take this data from here to here, either we have to use VPN or we have to use direct connect. Okay. Or like one of the option is this data sync agent. Someone is like Tanjim has
Yeah,
posted
data
here.
sync also it is. Yeah, data sync also
Yeah,
is there. So
yeah. Data sync is also can be used, but again, data sync option is not available in this.
yeah, yeah, it is. Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, it is not available in our options, so we cannot use here. But as I said, there is some wording mistake here. If this sentence, this word is not available, in that case, this going to be work here. Okay. Okay, so the next question is, okay, so here we have B, create a direct connect gateway to connect local network with multiple VPCs across different region. Okay. So the question is, company has its major application deployed in AWS. The company is building a new office and require a high performance network connection between the local office network and the AWS network. The connection needs to have a high bandwidth throughput and allow user in the office to connect with multiple AWS VPCs of multiple AWS regions. How would you establish connection in the most appropriate way? So we can create a direct connect gateway to connect the local network with multiple VPCs across different regions. This is something that we can use here. Next question. You are building a fleet of EC2 Linux instance in the AWS environment to manage heavy workload and write data into AWS Redshift. The developers and administrators need to log into these EC2 machines to develop, fix, deploy, and manage workload within your organizational network only. Which of the following would allow only the personnel within the organizations to access the resources most securely? So C is the correct option here. AWS VPN connection from your organization to AWS VPC. A Bayesian host in in VPN-enabled subnet with secure SSH key to login, and EC2 instance in private subnet with secure SSH key to login, and Redshift in private subnet. So this is the most secure way. Last question. Okay, so D, apply NACL rules between EC2 instances in the subnet and transit gateway association to control the traffic. Okay. So the security team asks you to implement a control that can allow or block the traffic between the EC2 network interface workload. Allow or block. Okay. So we know that allow or block can be done with the help of network access control list rules. Okay. So D is the correct option here. So these are the questions that we have discussed in terms of networking and how we can connect multiple networks. What are the different services that we have? Yeah, so security groups only allow rules. So with security groups, you cannot deny traffic. Okay, so that's why
It is
NACL is
stateful,
better.
stateless. Difference is stateful and stateless.
Yeah, stateful and stateless. Any other questions? So like when you are going to appear for the exam, you are going to receive scenario-based question. Okay, and the ones that we have already seen in this webinar. Again, sometime it might be confusing. You it may seems that the two options are correct. Okay, so there is a minor difference between the options. Again, like in our case, might be these two questions are something that is having not properly sentenced, or the wording of the questions is not correct. So that's why it is becoming confusing here as well. But in the exam, you are going to get a authentic and accurate question. Any other question related to the content so far that you have covered week 1, week 2? I hope everyone is progressing well on the content side. Any challenges, difficulties you are facing? For practicing questions for the exam point of view, Okay, so there is a website that is available on topic. So there are like bunch of questions that are available. You can go through these questions and prepare yourself for the certification parallelly. So this is the link for that. So the exam code is SSA C03. This is how a typical exam question you're going to get. Okay, a scenario based, then there are different options. Again, it can be objective, multi answer, or single answer. Okay, so this is the website that you can refer for practicing the questions. Any other questions? So next week, we are going to cover monitoring and scalability. So here we are going to talk about CloudWatch, auto scaling, load balancing. So this is something that we are going to discuss. Different
Oh,
phases of monitoring.
is there any way to get the slides? Like, are you sharing the slides?
So I think the content that we are covering is already available in the Canvas. So if you
Okay.
go through the Canvas material, like
Mm-hmm.
module wise, so you will find all this content.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Yeah, this like the purpose of this webinar is to summarize what you have learned in that particular week.
Mhm. Okay, 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 fine.
Yeah. Shefali, I hope you have marked the attendance.
Rahul, I have marked it. I think if no more questions, then we are good to go. All enjoyed the session and it was meaningful to everyone. It's a bit complicated topic today of networking.
Thank you, ma'am. And thank you, sir.
Yeah, it was a
So,
nice session. That's the reason I had asked the last week, like if you tell like the next week topic, we can come prepared so that like we can also explore more.
true, true. That's a great idea. So I think no more questions. We are good to wind up and then see you next week.
Okay.
Everyone, take care.
Yeah.
See you next week, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Sir,
Thank,
thank you, ma'am.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bye.